Good morning. It's a great pleasure for me to be here. I thank all the wonderful women who made me come here. So thank you very much. The short film that we saw at the beginning of all the wonderful women of the world, I think Hillary Clinton should be put up there too. She did not make President of the United States, but I think if she were a man, she would have. So that's my suggestion. You might not agree with everything I say, which is okay. I come from a very small country that has many conflicts as well, and I'm very proud to say that women have fought very hard for what we all have. I'll tell you a little bit about myself and then why I think these meetings are important. I've never been to meetings where men meet to discuss networking. I was born many years ago in Israel, and my parents left the country. I was raised in America. I went to high school and university in the United States. And among the many things I learned was that we have, as people, we have many rights. We don't only have obligations, we also have rights. And I've learned throughout the years that women do not use their rights enough. So I returned to Israel after many years in the States. I wanted to raise my family there. I did not want to raise my children in America. And I returned and I became a public servant. I did not serve in the army because I came back too late. I was too old. And I went into politics. Again, something I learned in America, that if you have a dream, if you wish to do something, fight for it and do it. So it's a very naive way of thinking, but it also paved my way to the things I wanted to do. So I entered politics. Some old men, they were at that time my age today, they approached me and they asked me if I'd be interested to be a city council member. I had no idea what that was, but I said yes, why not? So I became a city council member. I joined a certain political party, a big party. I was elected along with all the other men. I was the first woman on city council in my town. I live in a city about 80,000 inhabitants. And in 1990, I was the first woman on city council. So you can imagine the way they looked at me, you know, and I didn't understand the language. Sometimes we don't understand languages. It doesn't mean English, Hebrew, or French. It means the language of politics, the language of business, the language of the digital world. Sometimes we don't understand the language. And rule number one, I find, for women especially, is that we must learn the language and we must learn the rules of the game. Bless you, that means it's true. We must learn the rules of the game because you cannot play soccer on a volleyball team or court. You cannot play tennis on a football court. You cannot. Each game and each court have the rules. And I find that many of us, women, not the women in this room of course, do not learn the language and the rules of the games well enough. And that's why many times we find ourselves excluded. We find ourselves not being there. Or if we did make it, the rules of the game and the language are so different from what we know, from how we were raised, and from what we value. And still I believe that if we want to be part of the game, because we are not a minority, we are 51% of everything, everywhere in the world. But yes, we are treated as a minority because we're not enough there. And I believe, from my experience, that we're not enough there because the rules of the game and the language are something we need to learn. When little boys turn 5, 6, or 7, They play football, soccer. These games have very distinct rules. Teamwork. Every player knows his place on the field. You lose a game, you win a game, you lose again, and you win again. We women, we don't like to lose, and we don't know how to lose. And that's why many times we don't run again. We don't fight again. We don't try again, because we think there's something wrong with us. Well, I have news for you. There is nothing wrong with us. When a man competes for a certain position, he doesn't make it, because only 1 out of 100 can make it. He never goes home and says there's something wrong with me. He goes home, he opens the internet, and he looks for the next job. So I learned all these things. They're not theories that I learned at the university or in college or by reading books. It's the story of my life. After 1 term as a city council member, I liked it. And I decided I want to be a mayor. And the seat was vacant. An older mayor left, and the seat was empty, vacant. It's a big difference if you fight against someone that's there or someone that's not there. So I approached the political party. They put me a city council person. I said, I want to head the party, and I'd like to run for mayorship. They looked at me like I was crazy. Like, what the hell do you think you are? Who the hell do you think you are? And I was more educated than them. I was younger than them. My English was perfect. Okay? I had a previous position where I was in charge of big budgets, lots of money. I was a good manager, and I didn't understand the language. What do you mean I cannot? And they said, 1991, the city I lived in, not a periphery town, not a little city, not a farm, not some remote a place at the end of the world. I didn't understand. And I said, you don't want me? That's okay. I will still create my own political party, and I will run for office, which I did. Which, looking back today, was a little crazy, but I did it. I did it because I think I deserve to do what I want to do. That I'm good enough. I had no idea what I needed to go through, which is okay. Another message, another very important lesson. You don't always have to know the end of the way. I hope our futuristic speech afterwards will encourage that. So we don't always have to know where we're going. It's okay to leave some open question marks and just say, this is the way. Lesson number 3, I cannot do it by myself. We'll go back to that. And as has been said by everyone here, we don't do anything alone. Nothing. No chance. Only together. So I created my own political party, and it was an independent party, and I had men and women on my staff, and I worked my ass off for a year and a half. On election day, we were 3 people, 2 men and myself. 2 men competing under the big parties, and myself was a little party. I didn't make it the first round. They both got more votes than I did, but none of them became mayor on the first round. So someone needed my votes on the second round. And that was, it's been many years since, but it still were the most turbulence 2 weeks in between elections of my life. I needed to decide, who do I go to? Do I go to the people who didn't want me? Or do I go to a completely different political party which I oppose on the national level, everything they stand for? Well, I bet you half of you think I did one thing and half of you think I did the other thing. But I did the right thing for me, for myself, for my town, for the people who supported me, and I went with the opposition. And I made him, that person, I made him mayor. I became deputy mayor. And for 15 years, 3 times, I competed against the same person. I never made it, but it's okay. I was deputy mayor. Thank you. I was deputy mayor for 3 terms, and perhaps the most important things I did is I always wore 2 hats. I was everybody's deputy, and I was the women's deputy on top of that. Which means, I said, women do not have special needs, ever, never. But we do have additional needs. We have more needs, and no one will take care of our needs. No one, only us. So I created big budgets for young girls in sports, because I think sports, politics, leadership, anything you want, have much in common. You compete, you fight, you excel, you eat well, you work well, you do well, you work in teams. Many women have to learn to work better in teamwork. And that actually was my biggest gift to myself, to hundreds of young girls in my town that went to sports. And today in my city, we have 50% of women on city council. It took many years, but every political party knows that if I could do it, they still name it after me. If I could do it, they can do it too. And that's what it's all about. And 2-3 more minutes about what I think about networking, supporting, assisting, all on the positive. We should always look at the second half of the full cup. We have done tremendously well, all over the world, in countries where it's easier, in countries where it's more difficult. I have found out that many women who make it think that they made it because they're smart, they're intelligent, they have money, they don't need anything, and they will not support other women. I find this to be extremely wrong. And I've come here to tell you that if we do not support one another, and if we don't understand that there is a price for everything, I always say that in life we can make many changes. We can change this, we can change this, we can change some of this, but there is one thing we cannot change. We cannot live again. And I think every decision we make has a price. But I have news for you. Even if we don't make any decisions, they have a price too. So let's make the right decisions. Let's understand that behind every man stands, you know what? Who stands behind us? Don't answer. If my partner would have not stood behind me all those years, no way I would be here today. No way. So we must have a partner, a mother, a sister, a someone that will believe in us, will support us, and will be quiet most of the time. Because yes, we change. We turn out from young girls brought up in homes that teach us to be cordial, to volunteer, to help others, to be nice, not to speak so loud, not to speak up, not to use this, not to use this. That's how we brought up. Most of us, not all of us, not all of the time. Your daughters and my granddaughters are being brought up differently, I know. But still, we must understand that we have changed and that we can do it. And only once we will be there, there means everywhere you want. Only once we'll be there as a majority in numbers. We will not have one token woman. We will not have one prime minister only and no female ministers. We will not have only one mayor and not many mayors. We will be there in greater numbers. Only then will we be able to bring our feminism, our behavior, our wishes, our wants into being. As long as we're there in smaller numbers, and we do not have enough strength and voice and power and authority to make the change, it's going to be more difficult. And that's why summits like these, meetings like these, organizations like these, and everything I've heard from these very distinguished women who sit here, those are the answers for our future. And I wish you all the best, much courage, and much belief that you can do everything you want, and the sky's the limit. Thank you.